For your chance at winning one of my finished models, head over to my Patreon page. I have a link in the description and enter the monthly giveaway. So while the body got some time to dry off and let that clear coat cure for a couple of days, I moved on to finishing off the interior. But before I could finish it off, I of course needed to start it. And where I always start is by cutting out the parts from the sprues, cleaning them up a bit, and then moving on to a first nice coat of primer. Now for the interior, I decided to go with a clean hot rod. Just a bit of a Boyd Coddington style interior and also a bit of the exterior with a bit of a modern touch to it. So I decided to go with a beige interior for the entire thing pretty much all at once. So all the parts got painted in 2 or 3 coats of this beige, and then it was up to a couple of small parts that needed to be painted black, and then I could start on adding some of the details. So after painting pretty much all the interior parts in that beige color, I moved on to doing the steering column and steering wheel in a flat black, just to break it up. It's not that big of a piece, but it does make a huge difference on the overall appearance, with this being a different color than the rest of the interior. So with everything painted beige, I moved on to adding the beige flocking. So I first of all just painted everything in a similar beige color from Humbrol. It's just a enamel color which dries pretty slow and is a really good base for the flocking to stick to. I painted it in a couple of parts to not do it all in once and have one side dry up and not have the flocking stick as well. So I just moved on part by part, taking it slow and being careful not to overlap it too much, and also being careful to choose the points where I overlap to make those seams pretty much invisible. So I just poured some of the flocking on top with a tea sifter, just shuffle it around a bit, and then removed the main bulk of it as well. And then I repeated that for the rest of the interior in the same manner, just part by part, doing 2 more parts, one on the other side and then the main piece in the back, finishing it off, making it all nice and uniform in the same beige color. To keep the interior with its nice light appearance, I decided to do most of the trim pieces in a normal silver color. Not too flashy, and it doesn't look too different from the beige color as some of the blacks or a anthracite gray would look, so I thought that would blend in nicely. The door cards were painted by hand with a brush very carefully on all of those parts just to detail it out a bit more. To continue that same look on the door cards onto the dashboard, I also painted those centerpieces with the same silver, just applying it by brush, being very careful not to apply it too thick in order to cover up those decals, but just keep it a nice and even coat, and trying to avoid as much of the brush strokes as I can. Now, it is pretty much inevitable, as when you brush you always have brush strokes, but if you keep the coat super thin and maybe even do it in 1 or 2 coats instead of 1 thick coat, you will eliminate most of those brush strokes. With that one side with the instruments all done, I moved on to doing the exact same thing on the other side. Now this is pretty much one big open area, so especially on this side you need to be very aware of the brush strokes. Either keep them all in the same direction, or as I said, just do it in 2 thin coats instead of 1 thicker coat. With both the left and the right panel now done, I moved on to the final piece in the center, also giving it that same treatment. And of course the steering wheel also got some silver paint on the spokes. To add a tiny bit of detail and also a bit of an extra effect, I painted the shifter boot in a black, just a flat black, and then the trim around it was painted with a Molotow chrome paint pen, just to give it a nice chrome look and also a chrome bezel around that shift boot. Since the kit is not supplied with a full decal sheet but just a couple of stickers for the exterior, I needed to figure some of the interior details out myself. There were no dials or logos for the interior supplied, so I just had to do it myself. There are a lot of nice details molded in, the instrument clusters are all there, they just need some paint. So I firstly painted it silver a while back, as you could see at the beginning of the video, and I then added some Tamiya Panaline accent color to highlight it a bit and lowlight the lower areas, giving it a black dial, and the letters that are standing up will stay silver. To give it a bit of a custom touch, there was a big panel in the middle on top of the dashboard. I firstly tried to fill it in with some Panaline accent color, but it wasn't really the look that I was after, so I just painted it with some X1 from Tamiya, a normal gloss black, to give it a bit of a custom touch. Don't really know what this panel is for on the actual car, but I kind of thought it looked cool in this gloss black. And that is pretty much it for the detailing on the interior. All there was left to do now was just assemble it. A couple of pieces needed to be glued in, and pretty much all the other pieces could just be snapped in, as it still is a snap-tight kit.